When I was a kid, there were two things that absolutely captured my imagination: Dungeons and Dragons and HeroQuest. Not because I played them, at first I didn't even own them. It was the covers, the ads in comic books, the way they looked sitting on a shelf at a bookstore. Those bold, painted covers weren't just illustrations, they were portals. I'd stand there, staring at the artwork: a wizard casting fire across a dungeon chamber, a barbarian cutting through orcs, shadowy corridors stretching off into darkness, and my brain just filled in the blanks. I could see the adventure, hear the clatter of the dice, and feel that thrill of danger without knowing a single rule. It was pure possibility, and it wasn't just about the game. It was about the idea that this box, or book, could take you somewhere else entirely, a world that felt alive, dangerous, and waiting for me to step into it. Hi, I'm Bruce, and in this video, I want to talk to you about the one RPG I've been chasing my whole life. The perfect game. The one I've been trying to find or maybe even build ever since those first days of staring at a cover and imagining the adventure inside. The thing is, when you don't know the rules yet, when you've never actually played, the game in your head becomes so much bigger. There are no boundaries. I pictured maps sprawled like labyrinths, quests that unfolded like novels, and characters who remembered what you did in past adventures. In my mind, a single dungeon crawl wasn't just a fight with some orcs. It was a rescue mission where prisoners could turn out to be spies, where torches burned low and left us stumbling in the dark, where traps didn't just cost you hit points but sealed doors behind you forever. Then I finally played, and don't get me wrong, I loved it. Rolling dice, moving minis, flipping over quest maps, it was magical. But it also wasn't quite the boundless epic I'd imagined. Turns out the rules existed for a reason, and the adventure fit neatly inside them. That gap between what I dreamed and what the game actually was stuck with me. I think it's the reason I'm still, even now, chasing that impossible, perfect RPG. Because somewhere in that space between the art on the cover and the reality of the rules, that's where the magic really lives. When I finally got my hands on HeroQuest and later my first D&D rulebook, I tore into them like they were treasure chests. I remember laying out the board, flipping through the quest book, setting up the minis. It was incredible to finally step into the world I've been imagining for years. But here's the thing. The game I found inside wasn't quite the one I'd built in my head. The maps were smaller, the choices more limited. That endless labyrinth I pictured, it fit neatly onto a printed board or a single sheet of graph paper. The conversations I imagined having with the NPCs were mostly just quest text read aloud. The world didn't sprawl in every direction like my imagined told me it would. Still, there was a charm in that. The limits made the game more focused. Instead of infinite branching paths, there were clear goals. Instead of a world that could overwhelm you, you had bite-sized adventures you could actually finish in an evening. And I think that's an experience almost every gamer knows. That moment when you realize the game in your mind is different from the one on the table, but you love it anyway. Even so, that original daydream never really left me. Decades later, I'm still chasing it. Every time I crack open a new rulebook, or sit down for a campaign, or run my own dungeon, I'm looking for something that feels as big as the game I imagined when I was a kid. Every RPG, every dungeon crawl is another experiment. I've seen moments that get close, like the first time a party in D&D split up in a city and both groups accidentally triggered events that collided into chaos. Or in HeroQuest, when a wandering monster draw suddenly turned into an all-out retreat for rooms we hadn't cleared yet. Those moments feel alive, unscripted, like the adventure is bigger than the page it's printed on. Those moments feel alive, unscripted, like the adventure is bigger than the page it's printed on. And that's what keeps me designing, playing, and searching. Trying to close that gap between the rules we play by and the limitless world we imagine. The perfect RPG I've been chasing all these years has one huge advantage over every real game. It lives only in my head. In there, it's limitless. No rules to slow things down, no balance issues to fix, no awkward mechanics breaking immersion. It's pure, free-flowing adventure. The story can go anywhere, at any speed, and feel exactly the way that I want it. But that's why it probably doesn't exist. Any real game needs boundaries to function. You need rules so the group knows how to play. You need some sense of balance so all the players have a fair shot at contributing. And the moment you put those limits in place, you've already made trade-offs that chip away at the boundless fantasy you've built in your imagination. It's a lot like trying to write down a dream. The second you put it into words, you lose pieces of it. The details shift, the mood changes. What felt infinite and alive now fits into the lines of the page. And I think that's the bittersweet truth about RPG design. You're always compromising between what you imagined and what the game can actually do. That tension between the dream and the reality is exactly what drives me when I'm building echoes of the end. Every mechanic I add, every rule I tweak, comes from asking, how can I make this feel bigger, more alive? I focus on giving players more story freedom, ways to affect the world in ways I didn't pre-plan. I aim for immersion that pulls you into the scene, whether you're haggling with a crooked merchant or creeping through a collapsing ruin. And I'm not afraid to make it dangerous. In my world, magic is volatile, death comes fast, and the wrong decision can echo for the rest of the campaign. And yes, I design for other players, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't also designing for myself. Every rule I write is another step toward the game I've been chasing since I was a kid. Even if I never quite catch it, I want to get close enough to touch it. Somewhere along the way, I realized something important. Maybe the goal isn't to actually find the perfect RPG. Maybe the goal is the pursuit itself. Every time I play a new system, I discover something that changes the way I think about games. Maybe it's a mechanic that lets players shape the world in unexpected ways. Or maybe it's a clever combat twist that keeps every fight tense. Or maybe it's a flaw, something that pulls me out of the immersion and reminds me why I design the way I do. Each of those moments, good and bad, is a stepping stone. They sharpen my understanding of what I actually want at the table. They spark new ideas, push me to experiment, and make me appreciate the parts of the dream I can capture in a real game. And when you think about it, that's the same reason people keep adventuring in RPGs. You don't retire your character the moment you hit level 2 because the journey's the point. You keep going, not because you won, but because you want to see what's around the next corner. Designing games, playing games, it's the same thing. The next idea, the next table, the next campaign. That's what keeps you moving forward. So here's my question for you. What's the game you've been chasing since you were a kid? That impossible, limitless, larger-than-life version you saw in your head before you knew how the rules worked? Does it still live in your imagination? And what's the closest you've come to finding it? Drop your stories in the comments. I'd love to hear them. I think a lot of us have our own perfect game we've been chasing for years, and it's fascinating to see how different or how similar those dreams can be. And if you like this little dive into RPG nostalgia and design, stick around, because next time I'm going to talk about the dungeon monsters everyone underestimates, and why they're far more dangerous than they look.